Hello, everybody. My name is Paul James Caden. If you've watched my YouTube channel for any length of time, you already know who I am and you know what this channel is about. But for this video, I'm going to do uh, a more formal introduction of myself for those who may come upon this video and see me for the very first time. This isn't a video that I planned to do. This isn't a video that I thought I would do. But it has come upon me recently with a certain sense of urgency to make this video and talk about some things that I know and understand about what we call UFO and alien disclosure. You know, there's a lot happening in our world right now, a lot of anomalous things being seen in the skies, a lot of strange things being seen in outer space. It's a very strange time to be alive. We're so divided and angry and violent. It almost seems like there are people in our world today that have no soul, no conscience. They're running on autopilot, on some kind of instinct that craves money and power and fame. And it doesn't matter who gets hurt or killed or eliminated in the process, as long as their end game is achieved. And these world leaders who seem so absent of common sense and empathy and compassion are the ones who keep talking about disclosure, telling us what's really going on in the sky above our heads and in the cosmos beyond our small blue planet. There's also a lot of people out there claiming that they've had extraterrestrial contact, and some of the stories sound legitimate and others sound more like a new age fairy tale. So how do we tell the truth? How do we know who's really giving us an honest account of an encounter that they've had and who's just making it up? And why would they be making it up? This is a very interesting yet dangerous time that we live in. And so this is why I'm making this video. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Paul James Caden. I was born on February 14th, 1967 in Middletown, New York, in Horton Memorial Hospital. My parents' names were Willard and Loretta, and we lived in a small town just on the outskirts of Middletown called South Centerville. Very small country town. I would say that my life was not exactly normal because I remember as a child seeing very peculiar things that we now call and I understand to be paranormal. These are things I didn't talk about very much, and I still don't. If you could be in my home or ask my wife and family members, there's a select few of people that I will talk to these things about. But I don't get on the internet, even though I have a YouTube channel and I've been doing podcasts and vlogs and YouTube for, I think, 5, 6 years now, maybe closer to 8. These are not things I talk about. I'm not the kind of person who jumps out there and wants to make a name for myself and, oh, look what I know and look what supposedly happened to me, because I know the world is filled with fanaticism. And I understand the people that have some kind of encounter or something that happens in their lives, and they don't really want to talk about it for fear of that ridicule. That's been me for a number of years. I've seen so much fanaticism and out lies when it comes to UFOs and spirits and ghosts and religious experiences that I didn't want to become, and I don't want to become one of those people. But this is a time in our world that I think I need to tell my story, that I need to talk about what I know. So my name is Paul James Caden, and this is my disclosure video. This video might be quite long. I don't know how long it's going to be. If it's longer than your attention span allows, I would appreciate it if you would pause and then come back to it, because what I'm going to say here, I feel, is vitally important, or I wouldn't be making this video. I'm not a person who just does something for the hell of it or to play a trick on somebody. These are things that I know. These are things that I've been anticipating for a very long time. And I think there's a lot of false disclosure and deception that lies ahead for the human race. So please do listen to the video in its entirety, even if it's in sections, because this is I feel it's very important to know these things. I'm not going to get into my whole life story in this video, but I'm going to talk about what's important and what led up to this moment. When I was very young, even before the age of 5, as I said, I had what we would call spiritual and paranormal experiences. They weren't scary. I wasn't afraid. And I always felt that there was this very loving presence around me, someone who was watching over me, taking care of me. And I later came to understand that this was probably what we call God and the guardian angels. I do think such beings exist, but I don't think our religions understand them properly. And therefore we have a lot of gods made in man's image presented to the public through organized religion, who also is a very big part of the problem in our world, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I had this feeling that there was someone or something watching over me that was very loving, very kind, and had my best interest at heart. By the time I was 12 years old, I had a lot of anxiety in my life. I didn't get along very well in school. I was the kid that was bullied up to a certain point. Uh, it wasn't, where I grew up. If you were a kid or a teenager and you started talking about things that had a deeper meaning, or if you tried to touch on this subject of something beyond this material world, you were ridiculed. And pardon my language here, but just for the record, you were called weird, weirdo, a weird kid, faggot, retard, stupid, gay, all these things, all these names and labels that they would throw at you because you were stepping outside of a certain box that even at my young age you were expected to stay in. And back when I was a kid, if you weren't into go-karts and baseball and football and, Daryl Strawberry and Ken Griffey, I remember these names, these sports names being thrown around. If you weren't into that, like heavily into that, like that was your religion, well, something was wrong with you. And I wasn't that kid. I was comic books, superheroes, ghost stories. Uh, Even then, I had a very high interest in the paranormal because of things I'd experienced. I always felt like I came from somewhere else. I remember, and this I could swear on a stack of Bibles or anything anybody wants me to swear on. I remember being a baby in my crib, missing someone, wanting to go home, feeling like this wasn't my home. And I would watch people argue and fight, and my father getting drunk and rampaging through the house and mistreating my mother, the kids at school always picking on one another, picking on me and wanting to fight. And I remember being a kid thinking to myself, my God, is this the way we treat one another? Is that what this world is all about? It wasn't this way in that place that I came from. It wasn't this way in my real home. I had a feeling that we were all from that real home, but for some reason, most people didn't remember it or remember where it was. So I was appalled by the behavior of other people, friends coming over who were supposed to be, me and my brothers, friends. And, if you started talking about something, like I said, that had a little bit more depth to it, or you kind of started sharing your feelings about you didn't like the way people acted, again, you were peppered with the names and the labels, and oh, what a faggot, what a retard, what a wimp. There was just, it really affected me. And by the time I was 12 years old, I was feeling a lot of anxiety. I was feeling very depressed. And I remember from the age of probably about 11 to 12, I remember saying this prayer to God almost daily, saying, God, if this is the way we treat one another in this world, there's no hope for any of us. All I see is this negativity and nastiness and name calling. And, people don't really want you to be who you are. And I would say, God, if you're really there, show me love, show me real love, not what this world calls love, because obviously it doesn't exist. We're so cold and callous and mean to one another. To make a long story short, in the November of 1979, when I was 12 years old, I came home from school after a particularly bad day. I remember throwing my book bag on the dining room table, going into my bedroom, closing the door, and just laying on the bed, listening to music. That was my escape, music. My brother at that time had gone to the local mall with my uncle, who was doing some Christmas shopping because it's getting near Thanksgiving. This is around November 15th. And, usually my family started Christmas shopping pretty early back then. So I was in my room alone. And I remember just feeling mad and anxious and sad. I'd had a terrible day at school. And I remember asking God that again, show me real love, show me that there's more than this. And there was a window at the foot of the bed. I remember looking out up toward the sky. It was one of those, November days where the twilight sky had a lot of dark, clouds that hinted of snow. I believe there was some snow flurries, sputtering at that point. And I remember looking up into the sky, and I saw this light emerge from behind one of the black clouds. It looked like a star. And that light came down in front of the window of my bedroom. And I remember looking at it, and it was no longer a light. It was this huge disc shaped craft that was in the shape of a top, an old toy top, the tops that spin. And around the edge, it had like these rows of windows. And this craft was slowly turning outside of my window until it came to stop where one of these windows or doorways was open. And there was a girl standing in the doorway. She looked to be about my age. She had long blonde hair. She had this silver gray kind of jumpsuit on. And the thing that was really peculiar about her is that she had wings like an angel on her back, these white feathery wings. And I heard her speaking in my mind. And she asked me if she could come in. She said she was there to help me. Naturally, I was nervous. I didn't know what to think. I was kind of scared, but yet something held me there. And before all this happened with the light, I remember reality seemed to go fuzzy for a minute and all the colors ran like, as I describe it, like watercolors in the rain just being washed and blurred. And then everything came back to normal. And then there was the craft and the girl. So I don't know if there was something where she was making me less afraid than I already was. I wanted to run. I wanted to dart out of the room, but for some reason I didn't. And eventually I gave her permission to come in, to enter the room. I remember her stepping out of the craft, stepping like she's walking on the air, and right through the window. The window glass almost looked like water as she came through it. And there she was standing at the foot of the bed. And I'm thinking to myself, in my own way at that time, pretty much, pardon my French, holy shit, what did I just do? This girl introduces herself as Sarah, Sara. She tells me that she's there to help, that God has heard my prayer. He saw my anxiety and my sadness and everything I've been going through. And she was there to help me heal from all of this. Now I'm going to fast forward. I'm not going to get into all the details, blow by blow, because we'll be here forever doing this video. But this angelic experience began in 1979, happened again in 1983, again in 1990, and then again in 2003. And that was the last time so far that I've seen this being Sarah. The interesting thing is that every time I saw her, she seemed to age as I aged. And eventually in 2003, she explained to me that she was actually my guardian angel, and she had watched over me since my birth. And she had come to me in this form of this girl about my age and aged with me because she didn't want to frighten me and show me her true form, which later she did, which was, quite, um, let's just say, breathtaking to see a being, with this radiant light and the wings and the robes, and think about what an angel looks like, and there you pretty much have it. This experience, my angel encounter over the years that it happened to me, always had a lot of incidents where there were lights in the sky, UFOs. And it was really in 2003 where I asked about this. If you're an angel, this vessel that you travel on or appear to travel on, what is it? Why do angels need UFOs? This is where I want to kind of cut to the chase and talk about UFOs, aliens, what's happening right now, what's likely to happen in the future, and what we all need to be aware of. There was a theory back in the 1980s and 1990s that UFOs might not be a physical craft, at least not all of them. That some of them that may be a projection and manipulation of energy and or light around uh, the being itself, or the alien, the extraterrestrial, that would form the ship. So the ship was actually an emanation of the being or beings that were inside of it. And so this is why UFOs could behave the way that they do. They could be there 1 minute, gone the next, pass through solid objects. UFOs have been seen to dive straight down toward the ground and seem like they go into the ground, right into the solid earth. People who have been abducted say that these extraterrestrials come walking right through their walls, solid walls, like a ghost or a spirit or an angel or a demon, if you will. So the idea started to be that maybe these extraterrestrials and their craft, at least some of them, are interdimensional. Perhaps what we call angels and demons. I mention this because, from what I was shown and told in my experience, that yes, a lot of these so called crafts that we're seeing are emanations of something else, manipulations of energy and light to form the orb or what looks like the craft around the being. Now, what we have uh, happening in the skies around us are threefold. There are angels, some of them are actually angelic in nature. There are what we would call demons or fallen beings, or beings who don't have the good of humanity at heart. And then, yes, there are physical craft by distant planets who are much more advanced than we are. They're kind of like us. Some of them are perhaps humanoid, but their technology is far beyond what ours has reached at this point in Earth's history. And even so, some of those civilizations out there in the cosmos, as I was told, some of them live very close to the Creator, and they're very loving, kind, and spiritual beings. And then there are those who live far from the Creator, and they are influenced by the negative and the dark forces of the universe. And so when people have an encounter with something that says, I'm a demon or I'm Satan, it is not necessarily Satan, because Satan is not a singular being. Satan or the deceiver could be many. It could be what we call a demonic entity, uh, a physical being from another planet or another solar system that is just very much influenced by the dark and negative energies of the universe. We all have a choice between the dark and the light. And as I was told, some of these beings, just like human beings, you see some of these serial killers or people that do really evil things, and they'll claim, I'm the devil. And I was told it's no different for these other beings in the universe that sometimes do very horrific things and hurt people, that will claim, I'm the devil. It seems to be, or I am Satan. It claims to be kind of a pretty universal symbol and title that a lot of beings and people know strikes fear in the hearts of a lot of individuals. So to say, I am the devil, I am Lucifer, I am Satan, uh, that invokes a lot of fear, and a lot of people will cower at the feet of a being that claims to be, the Prince of Darkness or one of his agents. So, with that being said, what's happening in our skies right now on planet Earth? We have various beings who are watching. We have those of the angelic class, we have those of the dark class or the negative class. Uh, we likely even have beings from the dark and from the light that are advanced extraterrestrial civilizations who are here to aid both the darkness and the light and the angelics. So we are being watched right now because Earth is at a pivotal time. What we do next is either going to send us in what we call the apocalypse, or we will change and make life better on this planet with their help. They don't want us, the beings from the light, don't want us to destroy ourselves. And likely before that happens, they will intervene. But the beings who follow the darkness are also looking to intervene. It's important to know that, as many people are looking to the government for disclosure, this is probably the last place you want to be looking, because our government has had contact with beings that are not of this world, beings that are interdimensional, beings that are what we would call metaphysical, spiritual, or demonic, for lack of a better word. These beings are playing on the ego of our leaders because most of our leaders across the world, are interested in two things: power and money. And if something comes along that says, we can make you even more rich, we can make you really the elites because you're going to have this special knowledge no one else knows, and we're going to give you this knowledge in exchange for something. That something is likely to be the abduction and hybrid programs that are going on in our world, where people are taken against their will, put through these painful medical experiments, tissue samples taken, eggs, sperm, uh, very traumatic things that happen during these abduction scenarios. So the taking of our people, the hybridization program, is one of the deals that our leaders made with these beings in exchange for certain knowledge and certain technology. Now, why do these beings want to have a hybridization program? Because it's easier to infiltrate and take over a group of people or a planet when you have agents who look like you, sound like you, talk like you, pushing certain agendas for you. Now, you hear a lot of people talking about aliens walking among us, hybrids walking among us, reptilians walking among us, and that's not so far from the truth. because there are people, especially in positions of power these days, who are very likely part of the hybridization program. That's why we see our world leaders many times, and they seem like they have no heart, no soul, no common sense. They make the most terrible decisions that hurt entire countries or hurt the world. Yet they'll claim to be religious, yet they'll take from the poor to give to the rich. And we ask ourselves, how can they do this? Why do they act this way? Well, there's a reason. And there's a reason why big tech is being pushed on the people. Why is everyone addicted to their cell phones? Why is everyone addicted to gaming? And I would say, be very cautious if you're one of these people that live to be on your phone, live to get home from work, and you go right to your game station. And I know people my age, I'm 58 years old, I'm going to be 59 in February. And I know people my age that come home from work, go into their little man cave and just game all night. And the wives are asking, this is all they do every day, 7 days a week. Don't want to do anything, just gaming and gaming and gaming and on the phone and on the computer. We're addicted to this technology. And that's by design. Because eventually that technology is going to get greater and greater. And inevitably, what's going to happen is why we see inventions like Neuralink and things of this sort that they're going to implant right into our brains. So it would be wise to stop looking at people like Elon Musk as heroes, that these are good people, that they're on your side. Even those in charge here in the United States of America, we have so much political division right now, and that is by design. If you think the people in the White House are on your side right now, you have another thing coming. Why are they pushing AI? Why is President Donald Trump signing executive orders, not allowing individual states to regulate the use of artificial intelligence? Why are they building big data centers all over the country? It's polluting the soil, polluting the water, driving people's energy bills through the roof. Why are they doing that? Are they doing that because they care about you? No, they're pushing the agenda. They're pushing the agenda of these beings who want something from you. And what they want from you is your consciousness. This sounds crazy. This sounds like a conspiracy theory. But the truth is, you are a spiritual being, basically an energy being. And it's not so far-fetched to say that this world is what some call a soul farm. These beings feed on us. They feed on our misery. They feed on our fear and our anger, our hatred. Have you ever thought why in all these years nothing has really changed on planet Earth? We keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and over. We thought we learned from the past to get rid of the Hitlers and the Mussolinis and the dictators who commit genocide and send people to gas chambers. But new people rise to the scene who actually envy those people and emulate those people and want to do what they did all over again, thinking they can do it better and not fail, and no one will stop them. Why does this happen? It's by design. And there are certain people in this world. Yes, the elitists want the old, the sickly, the disabled. These are the people they'd rather send to the gas chambers because they're using their precious resources. And this is why we see in America why we see the elderly and the disabled and the sick being stripped of their health insurance. And those who support these particular politicians say, yeah, these lazy people that won't work, get them off of Social Security, get them off of this. They don't deserve it. Let them die. If they don't work, they don't eat. Pushing this crazy religious narrative that's one of hatred and genocide, because that's the greedy part of these elitists. This world is ours. And that's one of the things that's promised them. If they serve the dark powers, eventually this world will be theirs. They'll be able to build their utopia, their Eden, the way they want. They are the chosen ones. And by the way, if you belong to a religion that espouses this chosen one mentality, I'm chosen and you're not, I'm saved and you're not, I'm one of God's children and you're not, then you're pushing the agenda, because division is a very big part of the agenda. So, what about the rest of us? What about the rest of us who are addicted to the technology? Our phones, our gaming systems, our computers. Eventually, these cell phones, this device I'm recording on right now, is going to be obsolete. And eventually, it will be glasses. Then eventually, it will be the implant. And people will get that implant because they can't live without the technology. They need their games, they need online, they need their social media. It's part of them now. And oh boy, isn't it cool now that, in the future we'll be part cyborg like the people in our games. Wow, isn't that great? No, it's not. It's part of the agenda. And this is where the dark entities come in. Because once they can trap your consciousness, your energy, your mind in that technology, because we all heard it said, oh, eventually we'll be able to download our memories and our consciousness into, a program, and we'll be able to live forever. Because then you become a permanent source of food for the parasitic entities who feed on our misery in this world. The Gnostics had it right. Maybe not 100% right, but they had it right. There are beings who want to harvest us. And this particular channel here on YouTube, I am a paranormal investigator. I've been interested in this all my life. I've been interested in ufology for many, many years now. And there's one thing I know, there's one thing that any paranormal investigator will tell you, and that is there are entities that will feed on your energy. This is why people can move into a haunted house, and it's fine at first, but then something in that house attaches to one of the family members, usually a weak link. And that family member will start, exhibiting anger and morbidity and violence, and sometimes even committing heinous crimes. And then you hear them say, well, this voice told me to do it. Something made me do it. There are beings that feed on our energy and motivate us, or motivate individuals to do terrible things. And that is a paranormal fact. I can tell you that. So what would be so hard to believe that there are greater entities in our universe who feed on us in a bigger way, and who are influencing so many people in our society right now? A lot of people right now are asking, what is going on? Why are people acting the way they're acting? Why is everybody so shallow and callous and heartless and soulless and violent and mean and decisive? I mean, the list goes on and on. Because they're all weak links. They've been so hypnotized and anesthetized by the modern technology that we're all addicted to, that they've become husks of themselves, easy to control, easy to be deceived. And these are the ones who will be easy to get the implant and be, pretty much an eternal source of food for these parasites, because our consciousness will be trapped in this technology. And it's coming. It is coming. And I know there are people that are probably going to unsubscribe, say I'm crazy, and that's the risk. That's why I said in the beginning of this video, those of us who have experienced something don't usually like to talk about it, because there's so much misinformation and so much crazy out there that you risk just being lumped in with all the rest of the crazies when you talk about these things. But the world is in a very perilous place right now. And you can't trust the government to do the right thing. If you think Donald Trump is your hero, think again. If you think Elon Musk is your hero, think again. If you think any politician or world leader right now is your hero, think again. There's very few who want to do the right thing, and usually those are the ones who the greatest scandals are created around to get them off the scene. And isn't it funny how the people who are really up to no good, they can be eyeball deep in scandal, but it seems nothing ever touches them. They even get pardoned. But if someone who's a decent politician, well, if they even took a hit off of a marijuana joint in high school, well, that's it for them. If they got the wrong religion, in our eyes, well, that's it for them. The game is rigged. And it's rigged to imprison you, to steal your mind, your consciousness, your morality, and make you an easy target for what's coming. Because the elites don't need you anymore. They've been given enough technology from these beings that when they build their little utopia, they don't need you and I as a slave class anymore. They have AI, they have robots, they have technology that can keep the wheels turning in their little man-made paradise, or so they think, to keep the fat cats well and happy and sitting on their little thrones counting their cash. But there's a certain amount of us that will be kept around because we'll be food for the overlords. And that's what you and I are. That's why we don't matter to these people in charge. And so if you've been hypnotized by these people and you're buying their lie and thinking there's some kind of hero, and you're hating your family members and your friends and everybody who disagrees with you politically, and you're ready to go out there and go into a civil war because, boy, those lefties must die and those on the right must die, well, then you're pushing the agenda. You're already halfway there. They've already seared your consciousness so badly, you can't even see the truth anymore. But it's not too late. We can always turn ourselves around. And so if you're waiting for the government to give you disclosure, stop waiting for them to do that. Because the beings that are coming to the government officials are not the good ones. When the good one comes, they will come like Buddha. They will come like Christ. They will come like angels of light, and they will come to the common man and woman. They're going to come to the people who are struggling and who are praying and who are trying to do the right thing and who need their help. They're not going to go to the elitists in the government and talk to them about proper disclosure, giving them power and technology and ancient wisdoms to sustain themselves and build their empire on earth in exchange for hybrid programs. Those are the dark beings. Those are the dark entities. These are the corrupted extraterrestrial civilizations. So anything, anyone that is going to our government officials first, they are not on your side. And if the day ever comes that the governments of this world pull back the curtain and say, oh, guess what? Here's our friends that we knew about all along. We were just waiting for the right time, so there wasn't a good, a big panic, and everybody was in such an uproar. Whatever they pull the curtain back, whoever or whatever is behind that curtain is not your friend. Don't fall for it. Their disclosure will be a disclosure of lies. When the beings who, as I call them, the beings of light, the high celestial beings, whether they be angelic, whether they be high interdimensional beings, or from an extraterrestrial civilization that is already on the path of light and life in this universe or beyond, they're coming to all of us. They're coming to the common man and woman. They're not going through our leaders for anything because they know they're corrupt. And they know that some of them, possibly most of them, are part of the hybridization program. That's why they act so soulless. Or their conscience has been so seared by these beings. This is why the elites consider themselves to be elite. Not because they have so much money, that's part of it, but because they believe they possess a certain wisdom and knowledge that you don't. They know a truth that you don't. You're ignorant. You're stupid. You don't know what they know. That's why they have all these secret societies and little clubs that they go to that no one's allowed to film or witness. And you're certainly not allowed in that club because they think they're special. They're so proud of their bloodlines. Trace all these people, Donald Trump included. His father had his fingers in things that I didn't know half of this stuff. These people have been around forever, covering up the truth, stealing technology, lying to the people, gathering certain knowledge for themselves. I think it was Trump's father, wasn't it, that he took certain notes and devices of Nikola Tesla, I think it was. I mean, these people have been around forever, and they think they're special because their bloodline goes way back, and that bloodline has been corrupted by something or someone that is evil, something or someone that is a parasite, a something or someone that wants you as a slave and a food source. That's it. I don't think we know the entirety of what that really means, or what that really means to enslave your soul and your consciousness in this technology for their overlords. Who knows how deep and how sinister all of this goes, but you're just a supply. You're you're nothing. But that's why these people consider themselves to be so smart and so elite. Yeah, they have the money, but they also have technology and information given to them by these beings from the stars, from other dimensions. They think they've got it all sewn up. We know the truth and you don't. We've been chosen. You weren't. You were chosen, but not for the purpose you thought you were. You're a commodity for our overlords. We're delivering you into their hands as they deliver what we want to us. This world. We'll be the lords of this world. We'll be the masters of this world. But in the end, they won't be. They'll be harvested just like everybody else. It's a wide deception and nobody wins when you gamble with the devil, as they say. So that's what's happening in our skies. We're being watched. And if the government pulls back the curtain, or I should say when they pull back the curtain and say, guess what, everybody? We're going to be your friend today. Here they are, the extraterrestrials. Don't believe it. Don't fall for it. These beings will not be your friend. As I said, the true beings of light, the ones who are on your side, will come to all of us, not just the elites. Don't fall for what's coming. There is a very big possibility, as I was told in my experience, that there may be very possibly uh, certain people taken from this planet before things get too bad. You know, you hear about the rapture and the ascension, you know, all these different things people talk about, certain people being taken from the earth, disappearing. Uh, as I was told in my experience, this is not something that's set in stone that it's going to happen, but it might. If things escalate too quickly, too badly, too fast, the dark agenda gets way out of control, there may be a possibility and no other choice that certain people are actually taken from this place. So that's also something to be on the lookout for, because things are accelerating very quickly in this world. And if that happens, well, I'm hoping I would be one of them, as I'm sure you do. But there's a lot to this, and there's a lot of beings watching us right now. And if any being comes out of the sky, steps foot on the earth, and they seem really nice for a while, but then maybe not so nice, because yes, maybe the beings themselves will push this technology. Here's how Earth is going to advance. You have to do A, B, and C, and we're here to tell you this is what you need to do. This is going to fix all your problems. And it very well could happen that way, where these beings, once the government disclosure, the dark disclosure, the deceptive disclosure, as I call it, once that happens, these beings may be the ones who present this technology. Here's what you have to do to save yourselves and this world. And it may seem wonderful at first, but then if you see these beings starting to actually persecute those who refuse that technology, just like our elitists, just like our fanatical religions, they're the bad ones. They have to be disposed of. They're holding your world back. They're holding you back. This is unacceptable. This can't be allowed to happen. People like that can't be allowed to exist anymore. Well, then again, you know these beings are not your friend. And any of us would be very foolish, and it would be very detrimental to our eternal soul to take whatever technology they are pushing or telling us that we need to save ourselves. Because the beings from the light, the high celestial beings, those established in true light and life in other dimensions, the cosmos and beyond, they're not going to be that way. They simply present the truth, and that truth will be spiritual. It will not be a device. It will not be something that needs to be implanted in your brain or your nervous system. It will be none of these things. So any being or person that pushes such a thing, beware and don't take it. You want to talk about what many call the mark of the beast. You know, a lot of our holy books and scriptures contain hints of the truth. There are people that had revelations and visions and dreams of things that would happen, and maybe they didn't fully understand it. The problem is we made religions around it, and we've, in our arrogance, came up with all these scenarios. This is the way it's going to happen according to our religion. And if it's anything that's different than what they say it's going to be, well, that's from the devil. You don't want to believe in that. That's pushing the agenda. Because what the book of Revelation calls the mark of the beast is likely to be something quite different than what you think it is. So anything, and I would warn this, if anything that goes in your body that alters your consciousness, makes you part cyborg, makes you more powerful, more strong, able to be competitive with AI, helps you to live forever, stores your consciousness so you'll never die. It's going to eliminate disease. It's going to make life on planet Earth better. You'll be better. You'll be more than human. And there's so many ways this could be presented. There's so many ways this could be offered to us. Anything that promises you these things, do not take it. Because that day is coming. I don't know how far or how soon. But with what's happening in the world right now and all these things that are in our skies, I feel like it's close. I feel like something is going to happen, and this could be a lot sooner than we think. And this is why I'm making this video, my disclosure video. What I've seen, what I know, and what I've been told by a being or an angelic being that told me a lot of things that have come to pass. I'm not going to get into all that in this video, but I trust my experience. And I trust what I'm saying, as fantastic as it sounds. I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't feel it was important. You know, for a very long time, I've been saying, since the 1980s, since my experience in 1979, I've been saying, I think these UFOs, as we call them, have more to do with like angels and what we call demons than little green men. And I think a lot of them are very possibly angelic. And I've met people who were seasoned ufologists. I grew up in Middletown, New York, which is very close to Pine Bush, New York, which is the UFO hotspot in New York State. Linda Moulton Howe, a lot of very popular ufologists have gone to Pine Bush to investigate and saw very strange things in the sky. So I've met some pretty seasoned ufologists in my day, and I've voiced this opinion, and they looked at me like I had two heads, and usually wouldn't even answer. They would just shake their head or give me a psst. But now there's more ufologists who are saying these things are likely more interdimensional. And a lot of people are saying, based on their encounters, that they're angels. The truth is coming out. It's coming out slowly, but it's coming out. I trust my experience. That's why I'm making this video. And that's why I'm telling you, don't trust the government. Don't trust these politicians. Go back and make up with your family members and your friends. Don't divide yourself from everybody else based on a man sitting in the White House or anywhere else in the world, some political figure using mind manipulation techniques on you to sear your consciousness, steal your morality, steal your mind, and in league with these big tech companies, just draining your soul, setting you up for the harvest of their overlords, which may be coming a lot sooner than we think. And if you want to fact check this, look at these billionaires, all these billionaires building all these big underground bunkers all over the world. Some of them building private cities because they feel the United States of America is going to fail. The world system is going to fail. And they're doing this for two reasons. When it really hits the fan and their overlords come back, it's going to be ugly. And they know it. And they're building themselves little safe havens that they can come out of when all the ugly is done. But they also know there's something else that might be coming. Something coming from the light. And to these people, these elitists, this billionaire class, even those sitting in the White House right now in the United States, they fear the light. The light to them is the darkness. And they know that light is out there. And they know that light might intervene, probably will intervene, and destroy all their insidious little plans. And they're afraid of that. They know that possibility exists, and they're ready to run and they're ready to hide. Think back again to the book of Revelation. It speaks about the return of Christ and those who hid under the mountains and under the rocks and in the caves to hide from him who is coming. And that vision seems to be coming to pass. It's truth. They're building bunkers, they're building private cities, they're building underground homes, places to retreat to where they can escape or think they can escape when the light finally comes. When those things come out of the sky that are here to eradicate the darkness. And from what I understand, things might get pretty hairy here on planet Earth. But eventually that light will intervene. And these dark entities and those that worship them as gods, those who take them as overlords, will be no more. They will not destroy this world, and they will not destroy everyone in it who just wants peace. The light will prevail in the end. And that's why they're building these places to escape to. These people know what's coming. And they believe it's coming between 2027 and 2030. And they're hoping it's going to be their overlords coming to keep their end of the bargain. Harvest the consciousness of the common people and hand them, the elitists, the keys to the kingdom. But they can't be sure. Because they know there are two forces in this universe. There's two forces in our skies right now, and they know it. And most of the time, when you see these orbs of white light in the sky and all the military helicopters and jets hovering around them, those military jets and helicopters are there because our government doesn't recognize those orbs of light. They are not from the darkness, they are from something else. They are from the light, and they fear them. And they try to rally the military around them to find a weakness or to make them go away, because the light is what will uh, stop their plans with the dark entities from coming to pass. Have you ever noticed that some of these very bizarre lights in the sky, where are the jets, where are the helicopters? Yes, sometimes they're seen escorting certain craft across the sky. Dark entities, they're friends from the stars, and they give them a military escort. That will happen as well. But when you see them gathering like a swarm of bees ready to attack around a craft or a large orb of light in the sky, chances are that orb is from the light, and the elitists are afraid of it, and they're deploying the military to try to stop it because it's threatening their plan, their utopia, their vision for this world that doesn't include you and I. So this whole thing goes a lot deeper than just little green men and UFOs. There's a whole history that, again, would take up a lot more time on this video if I talked about everything. But beware of the government. Beware of the beings they are likely to disclose to you. And be careful of these whistleblowers that sit before Congress. Have you ever noticed they all have the same line? They all leave it hanging on a note of fear. And they say, if I told you the truth, it would change everything. If I told you the truth, you'd never be able to sleep at night. If I told the truth, if I told what I know, the whole world would go into panic. It would be chaos. When you hear something like that coming from a so-called whistleblower, that whistleblower is a plant. That whistleblower is part of the agenda, because that whistleblower is instilling you with fear. And fear is what they want. Fear is what they feed on. Fear is easy to control. So make sure you're very careful with these whistleblowers. These people in their three-piece suits and military uniforms sitting before Congress, showing up in all these documentaries, warning if they told what they really know, what chaos would ensue, how terrible and ominous it sounds. They're pushing the agenda. They're a plant. They are not there for honest disclosure. They are not there for good purposes. They are there to make you the harvest for their overlords. They're part of the agenda. They're part of the lie. They're part of the plan. So this is my disclosure video. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you watch the whole thing. I hope you get something out of this. I'll probably speak more on this in the coming new year. On this YouTube channel, I often do ITC research, which is communication with spirits through electronic devices like radios and spirit boxes. And I've caught a lot of voices coming through spirit boxes, a lot of direct answers, conversations almost, EVPs, electronic voice patterns, very clear ones. I've even attempted to connect with extraterrestrial beings through ITC means, and I've caught some very interesting responses, even in radio static, on a transistor radio, on the shortwave frequency, voices in the static. I've gotten to a point where, and this sounds absolutely crazy, where I can go outside at times and meditate and ask them to come, and lights will drop out of the sky or move across the sky or just appear and disappear. I have new equipment coming after the holidays, and I'm hoping to catch some of these on camera because I think, again, this is important and I want people to know. Everything I do, everything I've always done has been part of my spiritual quest, my personal spiritual quest to find the truth, to find answers, to gather proof that there's more out there than we've been told. We're hypnotized in this world. We're always looking at the material, our sports figures, our money, our job, our career, our politicians, sports. It's like they built a brick wall around our brains, around our minds. We can't even think outside the box. Those of us who say we're spiritual, we go to church once a week on a Sunday and hear these people at the pulpit often just give us a watered down sermon or set up there and rail hate speech, how we're chosen, and everybody outside these four walls is going to hell, and they're demonic and deceived, and they're not one of us. More division, pushing the agenda. But I've been on a quest, my own quest, because I know there's something bigger and better beyond all of this. And what I find, what I understand, what I know, I want to share it with people. And this is a difficult time to share these kinds of things because most times people won't listen. People don't care. People prefer the darkness over the light. Or they'll just say, I'm crazy. And that's okay too. But I'm here to share what I know. And I guess this is kind of my coming out of the closet video when it comes to disclosure and experiences and where I'm heading in my personal paranormal and ufology research. Like I said, I have new equipment coming for those of you that watch my YouTube channel, and I'm hoping to catch some of this on video. Um, it sounds crazy, but it's interesting, and this all started just this past Halloween night, uh, 2025. You hear about these people summoning UFOs, and I went to the bedroom window in my stepdaughter's home after we got home on Halloween night. We went to a play, and I just looked out into the night and just silently said, if you're there, if you're from the true light, please come. And about 10 minutes later, an orange light dropped out of the clouds, hovered there, and then just disappeared. Now, it doesn't happen every time. It doesn't happen every time I do this, but it's happened. These odd lights that come out of nowhere when I ask them to come. I don't think I'm special. I think we can all do this, and I'll talk about exactly how I do it in future videos. But that's why I'm making this personal disclosure video, to share what I know and the work I'm hopefully going to be sharing in the new year. Because the truth is out there. And as I learn more of the truth, I want to share it with others who want to know the truth. I don't want to dictate to anybody what the truth is or what I think anybody should believe. But if anything I say, if anything I do, if anything I share puts someone on the path of pursuing the light, getting them out of the darkness, waking them up, then I've done my job. Then I've done a service for the light. And that's all that matters to me. So this is my disclosure video. The things I've said here are the truth. I know putting something out like this has its risks of ridicule, hatred, trolling, even government officials knocking on my door with threats. But I'm willing to take that chance because the darkness is getting thicker and darker in this world. And I know what's coming. And if I can shine a little bit of light in that darkness, then I'm going to. And I've done my job. So thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video. Love and light.